pads are useful for their purpose, but they are no substitute for brains.
All right, here we go.
I have to say, well done, Ray. Well done. Well played, my adversary. Well played.
Phoenix isn't gay, but if he was, he'd pick Fremo.
Oh, yeah, he'd be living down there with you in the bunker, man. Woo!
Once you go free, you always do the Z.
Like one day I'm not going to Duncan, and you could get a controller, a new Xbox, possibly even a cord.
And now the group that can't count its nuts and come up with the same number twice.
Which is not entirely true. I can. I've practiced. Welcome to BGFG episode 454. I'm your host, Chris Phoenix, and joining me, as always, my brother from another mother, Mr. Fremo Z. How are you doing, sir?
454. I think they put that in the Buick.
They put that in everything. it was like most of the time in the 70s, you had two options. You had it for GM products. You had the 350 or you had the 454.
Yeah, I think initially that was in the big Buick Skylark, wasn't it?
Probably.
Big land yacht.
Yep. Gotta move that around somehow.
Yeah.
So how are you doing this week?
Okay. We got some news this morning. We'll talk about it in a minute. But other than that, it's been a decent week.
Yeah, I have to say the same. I got to tell you something I forgot to tell you before the show. I got to tell you after the show about my work.
Got crazy last night, but other than that, yeah.
Crazy? Like, did you get drunk and
shriek? Yeah, like 6 o'clock, the world just went stupid.
Yeah, right. So one of the things we do on this show, begrudgingly, is we do a segment at the beginning of the show called Not Coming Down for Breakfast. These are celebrities and people that we grew up with that unfortunately passed away. And as we get older, it's happening more and more. So first up, it was Richard Simmons, fitness guru. If you see him, I made this comment at work yesterday, and like everybody looked at me like, what? I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I work with a bunch of Gen Zs. So they had no idea. But fitness guru Richard Simmons, heart attack at 76. The man was vibrant and lively for his whole life. Give that man credit. You know, he was he was trending before it was even popular. Like, he didn't care. Love that guy. Then you got Dr. Ruth.
I have an uncle that looks like him, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, does your uncle love tank tops?
Especially during the 70s and 80s when my uncle did like the little tight curl perm thing.
Yeah.
Like some guys did. Yeah.
My dad did. Also, Dr. Ruth, sex expert. Interesting fact, Dr. Ruth escaped Nazis when she was only a little kid. She died peacefully at 96. For those that don't know, Dr. Ruth made talking about sex like normal social things. Before that, it was extremely taboo. You just didn't talk about any sort of sex. She made it a little bit more popular. And then we have Shelly Duval, known for her role in The Shining. But you know where I remember her from?
Popeye.
I remember her from Popeye, playing Olive Oil. She nailed it. She passed away at 75, unfortunately. Those people get a ticket and towel. What we do with the ticket and towel is that you get a ticket to get on the spacecraft or whatever else might be there, a ship, whatever's around, and a towel, because you always have to have a towel. And somebody that was close to Fremo also passed, unfortunately.
Yeah, my buddy Pops, very, very well-loved guy here in the area. Always had time for you. Stop by his house. He could just show up with something and be like, hey, how about we throw this on the grill tonight? Okay. Great guy. So ticket and towel to Pops. You will be missed, brother.
Yep. You know who's not getting a ticket or a towel? Is the gentleman, Thomas Mathew Crooks. That,
I was about to say, I didn't realize we didn't hand him out, but okay.
Yeah,
I
we
understand
can revoke them. Yeah. This is the guy that took a pop shot at Donald Trump. President Trump. Now, we want to say right now that the reason why we're going to say this is because it's not necessarily political. It's just a tragedy that this sort of thing still happens.
Well, I mean, two people at this point confirmed dead, the shooter being one of them. The other one's someone that he shot. And then there's two more critically injured. So I just, why?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get it.
I'm not a Trump
don't
supporter.
get me wrong. Yeah, I'm not. None of those guys up there at that level care about us anyway. But outside of that, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, if you're trying to do bodily harm to someone I love, I'm going to use necessary force. That may just be, physically restraining you till the police come or giving you a forever nap. It just depends on the situation. Yeah. But trying to kill someone because you have a difference of opinion, I mean, really? Come on.
It's unfortunate that that's the way we're at. That's where we're at right now. And again, I'm not a Trump supporter, but give the man his props. He didn't get shot. He wasn't like Teddy Roosevelt who got shot and did a speech for 45 minutes.
Yeah, took one in the chest and on the way to a speech and just like, okay, yeah, I'm still giving the speech, guys. Just
we'll deal with it later. He got grazed, got hit in the air. But even when he went down, he came up and his face had blood on it and he raised his fist, in defiance. And, kudos to Trump for that. Now, granted, as soon as that happened, he gained 5 points, and there is no doubt who the next president will be. But again, nobody should have to go into public.
I can't wait for the conspiracy theories around this one on both sides.
Oh, there's going to be huge. It's just when a public figure is out in public, the last one was Reagan, president wise. But when people are out in public, there's no reason why just because they're a public figure that they should be worried about getting shot. And this is no different. No different at all. It's just a tragedy. But to all the others, a ticket and towel. Let's get into this week's news.
BGFG News. You heard it here third.
So I don't know if you also heard earlier in the week, but Texas got hit hard by a hurricane. And I don't know what's going on with Texas, but their infrastructure, their utility infrastructure is going to be abysmally shit at this point. We've heard, again, when they got the snowstorm, was it last year or the year before? I understand. It's Texas. You weren't expecting a snowstorm. But still, I mean, your entire shit went down. And now here we have a hurricane that hit and power outages everywhere. Like 1.8 million people around Houston were left without power. The utility company.
That's brutal. This time of year, that area, especially in a metro area, because
no wind.
I mean, well, that and the whole heat bubble thing around these metropolitan areas because of all the asphalt and everything else. I mean,
it's brutal. The utility company is called CenterPoint Energy, and they don't even have an app. Like, at least our electric company up here has an app where you can see where the outages are and such.
Dude, my little bitty rinky-dink volunteer electric co-op has an app.
So these neighborhoods, you don't know who's getting the power back. So instead, apparently, your best bet is to use the Whataburger app. So if you get the Whataburger app, or Whataburger, sorry, in their app, you can see what locations around Houston, and they have a lot. What locations around Houston area actually have power because the Whataburger will be up and running and able to send you a meal. So that's how people are tracking it. I just think that's pretty shitty. In 2024, the infrastructure, any utility doesn't have a way that you can track an outage.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I have a cable company over here. Besides Cox Cable, I have another small mom and pop cable company that services 3 towns. If you're talking about 3 towns in Rhode Island, and ironically, it's the smallest town in the smallest county in the smallest state, and that has an app to track an outage. I mean, really, people, Get your shit together. And speaking of getting shit together, we talk a lot about breaches and hacks and stuff like that. We do. Because it's the way of life. And it's not that we want to scare people, it's that we want to educate you. Like everything can get
Waffle House
compromised.
needs to get on board with that Whataburger app thing.
I just want to know where the Waffle House is.
Because if the Waffle House is closed, your area has some serious issues. They don't shut down for nothing.
Nothing. So we talk about breaches a lot because it's an important thing to know. People always come to Fremo and I in the IT world and are like, I can't believe this happened. Well, we can. And it happens a lot more often than you think, and it's getting worse. And now you add AI to the fact that now these hackers and wrongdoers have ability to use AI to help them infiltrate different things. Well, AT&T got hacked. Now, unfortunately, my wife switched this over to AT&T. I was against it. I don't like AT&T. I think their security has always been laxed. That's me.
Oh, come on. You really got a problem with Ma Bell?
I do. I really do.
Okay.
AT&T got hacked.
We agree on something finally.
And it was real bad, Free. Like nearly all of their customers, and I do mean all of their customers. It was phone numbers, calling and text records, location data. And here's the thing. It's not just AT&T.
To me, that's just insane because knowing the customer base that AT&T has, I mean, how many millions and millions and millions of subscribers that they have.
Yep.
And how much data we're talking. We're not talking they got a gig or two of data. We're talking probably tera, if not petabytes.
I would agree. There wasn't any information in what I looked up as to how much, just what was compromised. Now, AT&T did come out.
Phone numbers and names alone of that many people is going to be a massive amount of data to move.
Yep.
How in the world did they not know this was happening?
Location data too. So if you find out a celebrity's phone number or a celebrity's name, now you can find out their most recent locations and you can stalk them. I mean, literally. But the thing that shocks me is that I don't think people realize how big this breach actually is. So it's not just AT&T. It's AT&T's MVNOs as well, which is mobile virtual network operators. They're also part of this. You know who some of those are? Let's see. Black Wireless, Boost Mobile, Consumer Cellular, Cricket, Freedom Pop, Free Up, Good to Go Mobile, H2O Wireless, Straight Talk, Track Phone, and many more. All of those have been compromised as well. Can you imagine what it's going to be like with the Straight Talk, Track Phone, and Consumer Cellular people alone? That's the majority of the elderly population. That's all them boomers that don't know any better.
I mean, this is literally hundreds of millions of people that we're dealing with here.
And AT&T said that there's no content of the messages that are leaked, just the metadata. But again, like I said before, the metadata alone, Fremo said it. The metadata alone is worth its price in gold. Because now you have their phone number, their name, and a location data of their most common tracked spots.
Probably the phone number on the other end of these calls and text messages as well.
110 million people, minimum. They haven't even gotten an exact number yet, but right now it's estimated at about 110 million.
Yeah,
that is absurd.
I guarantee it's going to be higher than that when it's said and done.
And speaking of compromised, a funny one. It's not ever funny, but a funny one is a U.S. federal agency that was unnamed was breached. How, you may ask? And it was breached for 5 months with no one knowing. Thankfully, the breach happened because U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, that's a mouthful, CISA is what they're called. CISA exposed the unpatched vulnerabilities on a federal government site, and they will not release what federal government agency it was. But they said it was inadequate, indecent incident responses, weak credential management leading to the full domain compromise. The unnamed agency failed to detect anything for 5 months. How it happened was CISA got into the Solaris servers. Now, that's on kind of the outer edge that runs the websites, that runs a lot of the more corporate part in the servers. Then it took a few weeks of phishing attacks to gain access to the Windows side of their things.
And they
Phishing
work their
attack
way up the food chain.
with federal people. What the fuck is wrong with you people? You're a federal agency, whatever agency it is, and you got pinched by a phishing attack. Once CISA got admin rights, it was game over. Full domain
Dude,
compromise.
You know as well as I do, with as large as the federal government is, and the number of people employed there, how many of them just don't give a crap?
No,
They're
they
there
don't.
for a paycheck. That's it. I mean, you
It's
got
awful.
what, 70-something thousand IRS people?
Who don't? Oh, we could go on jokes about the IRS right there.
Hating their
jokes upon
job.
jokes.
Just,
Yeah.
you know, sitting there at the stamp.
Having
all day
people
long.
like
I thought we were going to be paperless last decade.
having
I
people
mean-
like Marjorie yelling at them for not disclosing something.
Yeah.
It's finally we get a little bit of a retribution though with this whole spyware and compromising things. Phone surveillance company MSpy exposed millions of its customers who bought access to the phone spyware app over the past decade. Now, this isn't this is including the Ukrainian company behind this company. MSpy is a phone surveillance app, sometimes called a stalkerware, that promotes itself as a way to track children or monitor employees, and actually just tracks you and all the information it gathers. It sells. We exposed this, well, not just us, but we talked about it months and months and months ago. These stalker apps, they're awful. But now this one got hacked, which I think is just irony right there. Just,
Yeah.
it's good. You
They're in the
love to see
business
it.
of stalking and hacking people, and then they just got owned.
Yeah. But that's all we had for the news this week. Not a whole lot of news. And we're going to get into our summer of covers, as always. And this week, we're doing a little bit of a heavy, I guess you could say. This one this week is MudVayne, covering The Police's King of Pain, which I didn't see coming. I was literally doing show notes. I had my headphones on. I'm listening to different tracks, and this comes on. I'm like, whoa, I got to get me some of
Yeah.
this because this is good right here.
This is a good one.
So we're going to listen to this, and then on the other side, we have some stick-style news and some news about some rockets, because we love rockets over here.
Keep that in your pocket.
All right, here's King of Pain by MudVayne. We'll catch you on the other side. Because they were ahead of their time, in my opinion, with a lot of things, musician-wise. 3-man band, great, led by Sting, not the wrestler. All right, let's get into... oh, wait. I know you can't drink because you're going out after, but I have my last Modelo.
What are you talking about?
Oh, Miller Lite, there we go. Cheers to you, my friend. That's a good sound. All right, let's get into stick style.
Gaming.
So, first of all, first, there's a 5-on-5 team shooter called Concord. It's a beta right now, and it's out on PlayStation Plus. Members are able to play for this weekend for free if you're a subscriber to PlayStation Plus. It's very much like Overwatch. This is a PlayStation published game, so hopefully it does well, because PlayStation needs some games, regardless of whether they're a copycat or not. I was going to give it a try this weekend. I ran out of time, but what next week, all 16 characters will be unlocked for the beta.
Also a PC game.
Yes, and it's going to be cross-platform. Next weekend will be the full open beta for everybody, and that starts on Thursday at noon. So if you liked Overwatch at any time, or you played Overwatch at any time, it's a good choice. It's a nice little alternative to it, and you can give it a try, see if it works. So Sony is making some moves. Even if it's slow and copying other games, they're still making moves, which is nice. Yet Microsoft continues to go backwards. What the hell, Microsoft? September 12th of this year, all the prices for the live services are going to be changing. So what it is Game Pass Core, which is the
They're
essentially
slowly trying to work everything into one model.
and again, I don't hate it. It's just, come on. I mean, I get the pricing, the prices have to change, but they're changing so dramatically and often. It's not a lot, but it's enough. There's a point where you're
Well,
gonna
the problem is they just picked the really wrong time to do this because we're
That's
all
true.
still in sticker shock over all the streaming services
Right. That are raising
upping their
prices.
price. Just not only upping their price, but then going, yeah, you know what? And if you still want to be ad free, let's tack on another $3, $4, $5, $6.
Right. And we talked about it before on the show, and I've talked about it in person with people. The shock ads have to pay for something. And a lot of these companies, the example I would give is that Fremont and I have been telling you for God knows how long that these companies, PlayStation, or I should say Sony and Microsoft, lose money on their PlayStation and Xbox every time. No matter how you look at it, these are AMD processor, AMD GPUs in both of these units, and that computer is going to cost you $7, $8, $9, $1,000, depending on it. And you're getting an Xbox for $400 or a PlayStation for $400 on sale. So they're losing money and they have to make up their money somewhere. We complained before about how Xbox is so fractured. Xbox's Game Pass is fractured. You don't really know what you had. It was confusing at the beginning. So you have the Game Pass Core, which is essentially what Xbox Live originally was. You have online access to multiplayer and about 40 games or so. You'll never see any triple games on that tier.
Yeah.
And you're just going to have those games. And that's going to be $60 a year right now. It's going to bump to $75 in September. There's a new tier, Game Pass Standard, which is the same as Core, but with more games. So that's okay, because again, we've talked about on the show before, if you are getting a game system or for your kid or whatever, it's okay to just have these basics, because there's enough games out there that you will find something to play if you don't want to purchase something right away. So it is well worth it. And the Game Pass Core or Game Pass Standard is going to be $15. So that's not too bad. Get a few more games in the Core. Game Pass for console is actually being phased out. PC Game Pass is all Game Pass games, EA Play Library, and day one titles. And that's for your PC. And I can't say enough good things about it. It's great if you're a PC gamer and you want to get into some of the Xbox stuff. That's going from $10 up to $12 a month. And then you have Game Pass Ultimate, which is what I have. Game Pass Ultimate, you get it all. You get cloud gaming, you get day one games, PC gaming, EA Play, access to the entire library on your console. That's going from $17 a month to $20 a month. Now, I know there's people that are listening to the show are like, what are you bitching about? It's not that bad. You're going from 17 to 20. That's per month. That adds up. And like Fremont and I were both talking about, when you're adding your streaming services to your gaming services, that starts really building up. My wife and I are looking at the budget right now because of job situation changes and whatnot, and deciding what we're going to do.
Figure out how to make up these small differences in the monthly budget.
How?
Just start rolling bumps that are begging for money. You're good for $4 or $5 change every time.
You know, it would crack me up if I literally was in a lane on a red light and saw Fremo get out of his vehicle and just roll the guy on the corner trying to collect change with the sign. I don't know what to do.
Sorry, brother. I know you don't like you've eaten in 2 days, but my Xbox Game Pass is about to get turned off.
We can't have that. You know, I brought that up to, now that we're speaking about that, how long have we had Game Pass, you and I?
Since they implemented it?
2001. I had some people at work laughing because I told them, I said, Fremo and I have OG names.
Well, I mean, it wasn't called Game Pass. It's called Xbox Live back then, but yeah.
We've had it since 2001. And all throughout that time, we've never let our Game Pass lapse. We've never been late with a payment or anything. Always paid it up to date. And we have OG names. We don't have any stars, asterisks, underscores, nothing at our names. We're original OGs. Yet every time there's a friggin' anniversary for Xbox, they don't give a shit. There can't be a lot of us left that have OG status from day one.
No.
Yet we don't get shit. A reporter from Kotaku gets a whole friggin' custom Xbox. We can't even get a T-shirt for our avatar. No, I'm sorry. We did get a T-shirt for our avatar with 20 years. But so did everybody else. There was nothing special for else. And if anybody, even remotely related to Xbox, ever listens to the show, I implore you, please, throw some of us OGs a bone. We've been there since the beginning. We've supported you. Just throw us a bone, please. Something, anything, just to show some sort of loyalty appreciation.
We even, some of us ran multiple accounts for a little while.
Yes, we did. Moving on. A game that Fremo and I have played and enjoyed is coming to an end, and it's Exoprimal. We talked about it a long time ago, and Capcom has announced that there will be no more updates to Exoprimal. The way the game goes is it pits. I know Fremo's shaking his head. The game pits two anime mech teams against each other. You start on either sides of this map with a central goal in the middle. And as you and your team make it through like city streets, you're met with dinosaur spawn points. Yes, dinosaur. And there's a lot of them, like a lot of them. It's ridiculous. I found it to be ridiculously fun. When I played, you could pick you could pick a tank, you could pick a sniper, you could pick whatever you want. But it was just fun. The amount of dinosaurs that would appear in this game was just it didn't make sense.
Turns out that this game, as fun and awesome as it was, did not catch on like Helldivers 2.
No, it didn't. It's a great game. Now it does sound weird, but don't knock it till you try it. And please go try it. Season 4 is ending, and there's not going to be any new seasons. Capcom said that the game will continue to be playable, and seasons will now just continue to cycle, starting with season 1 again. And they're just going to keep cycling through the 4 seasons. Give it a try. It's available on all platforms, and you can play it for free if you have Game Pass. So that's a little bonus right there. And then lastly, this week I tried something new. I played Helldivers non-inverted. Just kidding. No, what I did was I played Sifu. Sifu is a martial arts game. It's a martial arts beat-up game. You can button mash if you want, but like most of these type games like Batman or God of War, once you calm down and get and know the buttons a little bit better, the game really opens up. It's on PlayStation. Actually, I believe it's on everything. It's a game. Finally, there's a game that has good blocking. Even though I wish when I was playing it that you could adjust the block timing a little bit better. Hopefully on the higher levels, the blocking timing will change. Kind of like as somebody that can play a couple of instruments, when I played Guitar Hero, it was difficult because if you played on the easy level, the notes to me didn't make sense. But as soon as I bumped it up, it was like, oh, that's more like the notes of this bass line for the song. And I was able to play it. So I'm hoping that the blocking timer actually works a little bit better. As with all of these games, I start at the lowest setting, student, to get a feel for the game. And even at that level, it's no joke. The story's good. Kid watches his master get killed and vows revenge. Fast forward X amount of time, and the student is now a master, and he's ready for revenge. The music and the atmosphere is great. It makes it a very cool, relaxing couch game. Where I think this game really shines free, you had a question. You had that look.
Go ahead.
So one of the things is, like, when we talk about Shadows of Mordor, we talk about the Nemesis engine. There's nothing stands out about Shadows of Mordor as a game except for the engine. The engine makes it what it is. This one is really unique, this aging mechanic. So every time you die, you age. So, for instance, one particular boss battle I was at, I aged 4 years. I went from 40 years old to 44 years old. My hair got gray, got longer. I don't see yet if it slows your reaction time down on the character. I'm not sure. But having a little gray going and, a little bit longer goatee was kind of cool. They also released an expansion, which is called Sifu Arenas. And just like it sounds, it's like Batman's free play, where you just go around and just smack around people using your martial arts. The game is available on all platforms. If you like the type of, I don't want to say button mashing, but like story-derived combat, it is a good game to try. It's fun. It's slow. It's something you can relax to. I enjoyed it a lot. And I'm looking forward to playing it again, or more, I should say, and trying the arenas part. But
Is it
it's
collaborative?
No.
Can you fight online against someone?
No, not
Is
that
that
I
what
see
the
yet.
arenas is?
I think the arenas is just you fighting hordes of bad guys, I believe, in different settings. But it's not. It's just well laid out. And as a martial artist, I can tell you that a lot
It's
of the
kind
stuff
of a
that they're
linear
doing,
storyline.
yeah, linear
You're going
storyline,
through, you get into fights here and there.
correct, third person view. It's a good game. It looks good. It has great like ambiance. I'm enjoying it. And as a martial artist, there's a lot of it's not just punch, kick, body punch, head punch, hook punch. It's not that. It's very martial arts oriented. There's several circular blocks that I've seen in that. There's a lot of kung fu type blocks in it. Short front ball kicks. There's a lot of good martial arts in it. So if you get a chance, give it a whirl, give it a look, see, and see what you think.
Yeah, single player.
Yeah, single player.
I might have to, throw that on there. Give it a
Yeah,
whirl.
it is. It is not too shabby. All right, let's get into for what it's worth. Well, we do love us some Elon Musk, and
Did we really just get out of stick style with only 2 mentions?
yes,
Okay. That's
We only
kind of
need
lacking
one.
on our part to only have Starfield and Helldivers mentioned once each, but okay.
Oh, I love it. So we love talking about Elon Musk's SpaceX. Why? Because whether you think Elon Musk is crazy, batshit crazy or not, SpaceX has done what it said it's going to do, time and time again. And whether you love him or hate him, it has really proven to push the space race forward, 150%, without a doubt. SpaceX has had the Falcon 9 rocket for over 300 straight missions, but on the 354th mission, the upper stage had an RUD, which is one of my favorite terms in rocketry. Favorite term,
Yeah.
RUD, rapid unplanned disassembly. Explosion.
Boom.
An explosion. I love that, rapid unplanned disassembly. So SpaceX, to explain to you a little bit better, SpaceX has two rockets. The Falcon 9 has either the Dragon capsule for people traveling, or the payload capsule.
Yeah.
Then you have the Falcon Heavy, all business. It's got large payload fairing on the top of the stage 2. Now, stage 2 is the top piece, and stage 1 is the bottom piece. The big launch engines are on the bottom. That stage 1 has been reused numerous times. This is the one that lands itself, so that you can be reused. That has not had a problem. It's the stage 2 that has had a problem. And stage 2 is the one that exploded, unfortunately. The FAA has grounded SpaceX until the future, until they figure out what went wrong, which shouldn't take too long, ironically, because they're space scientists.
Well, I mean, they are the go-to
Astrophysicists.
people. I mean, they launch.
Yeah.
Countries use them to put their satellites and stuff in space.
Correct.
Like
And the
they're like the commercial alternative to doing it yourself.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
the bigger story is the
Dare I
satellites.
say they're the DoorDash or the Grubhub of the space industry?
Oh, that's well put. I like that.
I mean, you want a burger, but you don't want to go get it. You
Call
want a
SpaceX.
satellite in space, but you don't want to pay it. You don't want to have to build a rocket to put it up there.
Right. The biggest story, I feel, is that the satellites that the stage 2 was carrying, they were carrying 20 Starlinks. They tried to ignite the engines remotely. to maximum to get them out of the atmosphere after the explosion, but it really didn't work. Doesn't look like it was enough.
They're going to be raining down.
Yeah, and there's 6,000 Starlink satellites up there, but now these 20s are going to be coming down, and they'll be re-entering the atmosphere and burn up, which I think would be cool to see, because it's going to look like a meteor shower. It's going to look like something you see out of a sci-fi movie, really. But they're not letting anyone know when or where they're dropping. And I'm not sure if that's a good idea, because you kind of want to let people know. So they should burn up in the atmosphere. But there's a lot of things. We were talking a couple of weeks back about that guy in Florida.
One dude had that chunk hit his house.
Yeah. So not everything burns up. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about also was, what about the trash? Like, nobody talks about the trash. And the trash is a problem. There's so much debris out there that you can detect it during the day now. That's a lot of debris.
We actually talked about this just last week.
Yeah.
And I came up with a solution.
Why don't you tell the listeners what that solution was? Brainiac 5.
Bundle it up, and point it to the sun.
It's a great idea. It is.
And now, I just read this morning that Einstein's photon engine is reality.
Really?
They finally figured out how to do nuclear fission.
Yeah.
Not fusion. No, wait. Yeah, nuclear fusion.
Fission. Yeah. Oh,
Fission's the bad one. Fusion's the one where you put the atoms together. You fusion.
Yeah. I got you.
But they haven't been able to effectively direct the energy from that because of how hot it is, the plasma that's produced.
Yep.
But, and I'll have to find the article and send you the link. It was a pretty good read. With new materials and new ceramics that they developed, along with electromagnetic fields, they're able to initiate the nuclear fusion and direct the plasma through basically a funnel shape.
Yeah.
Forcing
that's awesome.
An object to move.
That is awesome. That's gonna do a lot. That's gonna do a lot.
An actual ion engine,
a
photon ion engine for space travel.
This is gonna be great. This is going to be
great. I'm telling you, man, give me the task force. I'll collect all these things. I'll put it together. I will clean up our space debris. We'll send it into the sun.
So there's 4,600 satellites in orbit and 14,000 old rocket parts in space junk. So there is a lot of crap out there. And what people don't realize is that when you see NASA or SpaceX or anybody else controlling like the flight patterns and stuff, these flight patterns aren't just, hey, we want to bring you home safely. That's one part of it. The other part is dodging everything on the way back in and on the way out. Yeah. Like that's a problem. And let me give you a guess as to who the biggest culprit of space junk is.
I'm going to say it's the United States.
100% right there, buddy. Of course, because we can't fucking leave anything alone. Like we just, jeez.
Well, I mean, we've been putting way more up there than anybody else. That's why I went with us.
Clean up your shit. When you go out camping, you police your area.
Oh, I do. You know? I leave it cleaner than when I got there. I'll pick up stuff other people left behind on my way in and on my way out.
But not us. No, we're just going to, eject that shit. We'll just, we'll catch it later.
Give me the task force.
Empty the toilet. Who cares if it lands in Florida? It's Florida. So, yeah, the U.S. is number one, followed by, well, again, we're number one at something, right? Followed by the Russia and then China. And like Fremo said, it's mostly because the three countries right there have the most experience in going out into space. Everybody else is struggling. Up there, yeah. So this is a problem because the more that's up there, the more chances debris can hit. So when debris is hit,
other things.
When debris, hits other debris, it sends it into like being a high-speed bullet. So those high-speed bullets can hit a space station, a shuttle, a rocket. It can hit anything. And that little piece of debris, that bolt, is now traveling at, thousands of miles per hour, and it hits the side of your vessel, and now you have a friggin' hole. So it's becoming a bigger and bigger problem. And if we want to continue the space race to get to the moon, to establish bases on the moon, and then use that as launching points to get to Mars. This is not a good start at all in any way. Some scientists are proposing a contract raffle for cleaning up the trash in space. And we've talked about that before. It's a great idea. Get MEGA out there. Get waste disposal companies to bid. If they're making good enough money, let them see if they can get some sort of. I mean, I just watched a video not too long ago. Bored. I watched a video on best jobs to get into if you have a little bit extra scratch, and one of those was buying an independent garbage truck. And they went on to say about how you can get the garbage truck, and then you can get empty cans, and then you can contact a municipality and outbid the bigger company that's already in there. And then you're making, you're working 2-3 days a week the most, and you're making bank. So this is no different. It's just you need a whole lot more money, and you need to contact somebody like Jeff Bezos to back you up.
I got a solution.
You got another idea? Hit me,
Another
Freak.
idea. Yeah. Buy a large enough piece of property that you can put a big ass hole in it, and then let everybody in the area just come and dump their crap in it for $10 for a pickup load, that kind of a deal. $20 for a trailer.
Freemo.
And then cover it back up when you're done.
Free, that's a bad idea.
Do you know how much money you can make doing that?
Free, yes,
I'll get back to you at the end of the year.
That's it's a bad idea. That's like when our parents
landfill, man.
That's like when
they
our
closed their
parents
landfill to personal use up here. Like nobody has anywhere to can't take their crap nowhere no more.
My state just had a problem with a scrap yard that caught fire, and it was no joke. And let me tell you right now that Gen Xers, our parents, I don't know about everybody, but most of our parents, my father, I learned growing up, to take care of your own vehicle. And when we drain that oil, my father goes, go dump it in the backyard in the corner over by the tree. Like, that was bad.
No. Everybody knows you dump it on that stump you're trying to burn out.
Okay, that's fair. We didn't do that, though. We didn't have any stumps. We just put it near the tree. Hopefully the tree would die. Tree never died, though. But, yeah, that's something that you do. And I think that the space debris is something we need to take care of sooner rather than later. I think we need to prioritize the space junk before we prioritize getting back to the moon and creating a base. That's what I think. Because you're going to have a lot more people and a lot more companies and a lot more millionaires, billionaires.
Or should we increase it and build a shield around the Earth that no one can penetrate from the outside?
That's another bad idea, Free.
Oh, so you want the alien invasion?
No, I don't want the alien invasion. And how do we know it's going to be an invasion? We don't know that for sure.
If they have any understanding of who we are, it ain't going to be a friendly visit.
That's not untrue. That is not untrue. But the theory behind, or the conspiracy theory.
Have you not looked at all of the sci-fi genre? I mean,
it's science.
They don't show up to help.
Look, if you follow the conspiracy theories, we have a space force, and we've had one for a while, and we have communicated with the 9 main Federation planets, for lack of a better term, even though it was something that so that's a whole other thing. Gene Roddenberry coined that phrase, the Federation of Planets, and the conspiracy theories are always that. What?
I mean, did he just show up here one day?
Who, Roddenberry?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, just
no.
the last name. That's not a normal name.
Okay, so I don't know if we've ever talked about this. So here's what supposedly happened, was that Gene Roddenberry was a writer, and he spent time, I believe, in the military, but he was a writer, and he got invited to a conference for the most part. The conference had a single individual, I don't want to say their name because everybody's going to go, see, that's fake. But the individual was there, and he was just kind of in the back taking notes. Some of the notes he took were what he based Star Trek, the original series, I think the first 5 or 6 episodes on, from the stories that he got from this alien, for lack of a better term. There's supposedly pictures of this alien that visited us and warned us and did all that, met with the president, met with the UN.
Yeah, we talked about that dude in one episode.
Yeah. And Gene Roddenberry came out with those different things. One of those things was the Federation of Planets, which supposedly there's a group of planets that elect officials to represent their federation, and they've been to this planet, and we've created a space force that's been in use for years before SpaceX or any other entity evolved. Now, that's conspiracy theory. Believe what you want. Do your research if you want to. But Gene Roddenberry apparently coined those type of phrases. Warp drive came from Gene Roddenberry. There was no warp drive before that. So it's kind of a cool thing. But the reason why we talk about that a lot on For What It's Worth is because it's a cool concept. The idea of having a base on the moon, whether for recreational or scientific reasons, Primo's idea, which is inevitably going to happen, somebody's going to think of the same thing, I would assume. I'm not a scientist. But grouping up all the trash and throwing it into the sun is a viable idea, and a smart one at that. So, all of these things are going to get, patting yourself on the back, all of these things are going to get us moving toward the future. And we're overpopulating this planet, so all of these things have to move forward. A lot of pharmaceutical stuff, there's a lot of things that have become stagnant over the past decade, where before everything was progressing at a rapid state. Now it's kind of plateaued, and we're waiting for that next big thing. And I believe, and I want to say you do too, that the next big thing is going to be, or the next big advancement will be, once we get to the moon, establish bases on the moon, utilize the moon, and move back and forth between the moon. That's going to allow us a different idea, a different way of life. And then, of course, if aliens or extraterrestrials ever contact us publicly, that's changing the entire landscape of the Earth and humankind. 100%. There'll be less confrontations, conflicts, because now we have a global idea that we're not alone factually, and that we need to be able to protect ourselves as humankind and as Earthlings. So
you would think that, but have you ever seen SG-1?
I love SG-1. I love SG-1.
Do you remember all the bickering and back and forth between the various governments on our planet?
I do.
Okay. But
again, I want to say in not just Ancient Alien Theory, but if you want something that would definitely pique your interest into what we're saying, Fremo and I have talked numerous times about how SG-1, Stargate, the series, really kind of touched upon a lot of the things that are so feasible and like possible and possibly happening now that it's just surprising that they got that information. But great writing in that show.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Do you have anything else this week, sir?
I do not.
All right. That's it for this week. Tense down. Show's over.
Woo-hoo.
So you can find more of this garbage at bgfgonline.com. You can also send us an email with your questions or suggestions at bgfgshow@gmail.com. Find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Overcast, Podcast, Castro, Castbox, Podchaser, and YouTube. Thank you for listening.